Good morning, good afternoon, or good evening. This is Property Management 101. In today's video, we'll be discussing how to review the question that you'll receive from prospects, is this property safe? This video will apply best to anyone that works in the multifamily side of the industry, but there are some practices that will also apply to the single family side as well. Before considering any of these suggestions in this video, I would strongly recommend talking it over with your supervisor, legal team, and marketing department to ensure that it is in line with your company's policies and practices. These suggestions that I'm making in this video are how I handled these questions in over the 2 decades I worked on site. Number one, don't make any guarantees. How I would typically open up that conversation and answering that question is I simply state, we cannot guarantee your safety. And I think by opening up to that, I think they appreciate that. It's very direct, it's very transparent. And I think that if you can come across that you are guaranteeing someone's safety, or if you don't recognize that dynamic, that implies it's a very safe property. And if something happens, you could be liable. And so I always think it's really important to start off by answering that question. When they say, is this property safe? You can directly say, I cannot guarantee your safety. And I've never had a prospect that I felt didn't sign an application with me when I toured them because of the way I answered that question. And the second thing to keep in mind when you're receiving the question, is this property safe? Share what you do to make that property a safe community. So some of the things that I used to talk about and some of the things I would recommend you talking about is talk about if you have a courtesy officer or any police officers that live on site, that part of them living on site is to perform rounds or things like that. Talk about how your lock system works. Talk about your ability to store keys and keep keys safely. Talk about how if you have staff that live on site. Talk about if you have lighting inspections on a regular basis. If all of your doors have deadbolts on them to the apartments, include that. If it's a gated community, mention that. If all of your residents go through a criminal background check, mention that. If all of your staff goes through a criminal background check, mention that. So there's definitely a lot of things you could probably share that you may not realize that help make that community a very safe community. And these are just a few of them. There's probably others as well, but letting a resident know what you do perform each and on a regular basis is going to be really important to let them know what you're doing as a staff and as a company to ensure that property is as safe as possible. If you're liking this video and learning something new, please don't forget to like, subscribe, and turn on those notifications. And the last thing I used to do and recommend when getting this question, is this property safe, is recommend that they view and pull up police reports on their own. I don't typically provide them as a staff, nor would I ever recommend my staff doing that. But if a resident or potential resident is very concerned about that dynamic, then encourage them to look up police reports of the community. They are going to also see other police reports and events at other communities nearby as well. So they'll be able to gauge if this property is a community that they want to live with. And I think that's also another dynamic where you're just being fully transparent with them. I also feel like as a staff, we may not be aware of every event that's been called and filed a police report with the police department with. So, even if we were held to be responsible for listing out every event, we probably don't know them all. By directing the police department, they're going to be able to give a direction and give a documented list. In most areas of most townships and counties, a lot of these police reports are made public. So a potential prospect should be able to look these up, as most often they're public record. So that's something I would encourage a prospect to do if they're really concerned or very sensitive to this question, is encourage them to look online and pull up any public police reports that that have been documented for your community as well as other communities. When a prospect asks you, is this property safe? Keep in mind, it's all very subjective. Depending where they're from, it could be a property that they don't consider safe if they had all the stats in front of them, or they may consider it very safe. So it is really important that you really take that in consideration. Before considering any suggestions I made in this video, please make sure you watch my disclosure video as well as my why I do this video. And if you found this video helpful, learned something new, please don't forget to like, subscribe, and turn on those notifications. If you have any questions about this video or any of my videos, feel free to comment below and I'll be happy to address them for you. Happy leasing.